4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh,
Okay, we did it. Yes,
I did not forget. I did my exercise.
Oh my
The
gosh.
countdown worked.
I did my 8. Rose was like, honey, you need to do your exercise.
Yes.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's what we should have done instead of gabbing
Yes,
at
we
the very beginning.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Gosh, okay, I'm so excited. So for anyone who's watching and you don't know me, my name's Brittany Brainstorm, and I own the creative agency Brainstorm Boutique. I have my sister Casey here with me tonight. She is very talented designer and a performance/confidence coach, which we're actually going to talk a little bit more about later on. But tonight we have a very special guest with us. We have Rocio Williams,
Aww.
who is joining us. And Rocio is a pastor at the United Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And she is also the founder of this really awesome bilingual ministry called Churros and Chocolate. And
there you go. Cheers.
I don't have
Cheers.
Cheers.
We need the churros.
Yes, we did need some churros.
Sorry, guys.
That's what we should play this
failed.
out a little bit better. You know that?
Next time, I promise.
We should have had our props ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, we have
Yeah, I should have consulted with you before.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Like eating churros right now.
We should have. I'm so upset right
Part
We'll
2.
do this again. Exactly. Part 2.
All right, we're just gonna go
That's
ahead and
right.
shut
Part
this
2, we're gonna
down.
have
We'll see you guys in a
churros.
couple hours.
I'm
Well, Rocio, I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself,
Okay.
and just let us know what you're all about.
Okay. Well, my name is Rocio Reyes Williams, and I am married to a pretty awesome, handsome guy. His name is Russell Williams, and
Go, Russell.
so Russ, we have 2 pretty awesome also kids, David and Joshua, and Truman that you might heard on the background is barking.
Yes, Truman.
Yes, Truman. Oh my goodness. And I, like you said, I've been serving as a pastor for the United Methodist Church for over 10 years. But 3 years ago, I was invited to just to start a new bilingual faith community here in Marion. And it was kind of scary, honestly.
Mhm.
Well, not kind of, it was very scary. So because that meant that I needed to leave the churches that I was pastoring and sort of like adventure out into something that I've never done before, like ever, in everything that, what it meant just to start something new, having to find the financial support and the people and just everything around. So that was pretty scary. But we started this group called Churros and Chocolate entre amigos, or among friends. And pretty much the idea that we had, it was just trying to reach the multicultural families and bilingual families that we know, in Marion and other parts, and just pretty much create this space where families could be able to access to the Word of God in their own language. Because, as a foreigner, I came here and I wanted something that was very familiar for me, and I didn't have it. Moving from Mexico to Marion, it was quite a shock. So I needed that, community. And there was nothing around here. I mean, the closest was Cobden, but still, it was quite a drive.
Yes.
So I always looked for something, that I could join, and there was nothing for years. And one day, the circumstances just open up so we could start this group, and it has been really, really awesome. I mean, this is our 3rd year, and I mean, we have met people from everywhere. I mean, in South America and Central America, it's amazing. I mean, so many people, so many multicultural families and bilingual families we didn't even know about, and we were like, wow. I mean, there is really a lot. And one of the questions that I always got was like, is there really that many in Marion? And I started to discovering that there's actually a lot, but we
Wow.
were all scattered. So this place was, a place where we would all come together. And at the same time, just so being able to share those similarities that we had in culture and language and music, and but at the same time having the opportunity to share our faith in Jesus Christ. So it's been really, really an adventure, but it's been really awesome.
I love that.
That's so cool. Rocio, so I'm interested in hearing a little bit about your background because you're from Mexico
Mhm.
originally, is where
Mhm.
you were born and raised. Can you tell us a little bit about, um, your, growing up in Mexico and then how you came to Marion, Illinois?
Yeah. So I grew up I was born and raised in Mexico City, right? In Mexico City is like 30 million people. So it was pretty
Whoa!
crazy. Yeah,
Yes.
speaking
Oh
about
my
fear, I mean,
gosh!
Yeah.
when you live in a city like Mexico City, to live in fear like constantly. It's just like a
Wow.
familiar feeling because it's just a lot. I mean,
It's like
Casey, you live in
so much bigger
Chicago.
than, yeah, it's people don't understand Mexico City whenever people say that they live there or are from there. Like that's like New York City times like what? 4?
Yeah,
It's huge. It's a super mega city and
it
it's super
is.
super cool.
Wow.
And everything is just like, you
Idea.
know,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, violence also, crime. I mean, it's just everything, everywhere, at every minute.
Mhm.
So, but then I went to school in Monterrey, Mexico. So I moved to Monterrey, Mexico, and later on, and that's where I met Russ. He was doing mission work at the seminary where I was a student, the Methodist seminary where I was a
Oh,
student.
wow.
And yeah, I like to tease him saying that he went on a mission, and his mission was to find a wife.
Oh my god.
Right? That was his mission trip, to find a wife.
I
It's
And
like
Father's
that.
Day.
Hey,
We'll let him have
it
his
worked
dad
out.
jokes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he
Russ.
accomplished the mission. Let's say that.
Oh
Let's put it
my
that
gosh.
way. So,
Christy Saylor just left a comment. She put, "Oh yay, the love story with the." I know
oh
I'm all
man,
about the love story. I tell you,
Oh.
we've had a couple here recently share love stories. I'm like, that's how we should just start. It's like good old romance from the
yeah,
very
oh yeah,
beginning.
exactly. I love that. Ours is pretty amazing, pretty romantic, and there's no doubt that it was God who brought us together. I mean, it's just amazing. And one day, in the part two, I'll tell you every detail of that story. But anyways, to make that long story short, I moved in 2008 here to Marion, and it was quite a shock, right? I mean,
Yeah.
from Mexico, I mean, from Mexico and then Monterrey and then Marion, well, it was quite a shock. So, but I think one of uh, the challenges it was that I come from a different country, and
Mm,
you come to a place where you don't know. I mean, you don't know anybody,
mm,
and nobody
yeah.
knows you. So, when you tell them, I went to school there, or,
Mm,
my parents are this, or, my last name is whatever. I mean, it's like irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
no.
So, a lot of that is just very scary. Like,
Mm,
everything is just so different, and everything is just not familiar, and it was really, really, I was afraid. I was really, really, and I still am at some time. Sometimes it's just everything's so different, and
mm,
I felt like I needed to reinvent myself in so many ways.
mm.
And but I've learned a lot. I mean, and there have been so many times where I just had to face my fears, and I had to just do it afraid. I mean, and it was just in simple details. I can tell you how many times, as simple as just pumping gas, like
Mm.
buying gas. It was a scary thing for me to do because in Mexico somebody will do it for you. But here
Really?
in the United States, you have to pump your own gas. And I mean, the very first time I had to do it, I was like terrified.
Well, you have to like stop it just right sometimes, or you don't want to
It-
overflow or
You can't
something.
afford it.
yeah, well, yeah, and then
Yeah.
there's like three different kinds, and I'm like, what in the world, right? And then so this lady is speaking to me from, the
It's hard to hear anyway.
yeah, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, what was she trying to say? It was awful. It was
Oh,
very scary. So
Rocio.
We have a comment here from Carol. She's saying,
pumpkin
"Oh
gas.
yes, that is scary, pumpkin gas." And
I
actually,
hate it.
it is your first time,
It
especially, and it
is.
takes
Yeah.
a while. It seems like it should be such a simple task, but it's not.
No.
We agree with you on that.
I'm very, very down for the next presidential platform to be eliminating the whole pumping gas situation. However we have to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
get the attendance back there out there. I don't know. I just don't want to
Well,
do it anymore.
No.
Okay, so do you growing up in West Frankfurt, there was a place called
50s.
Swifties that we went to.
Ah.
Is that what was Swifties? And
Yes.
then they had an attendant who came out and pumped your gas for you.
It was more
And
expensive.
It was, but it was
But it
worth
was
it.
fun.
And I just remember being a kid, me in the backseat, mom pumped it. 20, please. I'm like a 20 would like more than fill up, of course,
Yeah.
then.
I remember.
Yeah, we
but
used to
yeah,
put it in
so
our
I
water
just
bottles and
assumed-
drink it. It was just fun. Gas
Oh my
everywhere.
gosh. So
This thing was great.
But I do want to make a side note though, Rocio, because this is an interesting fact. I'm pretty sure the only state in the United States where it's illegal to pump your own gas is New Jersey.
Oh,
I thought it was
really?
Oregon for some reason.
I
Wow.
think they did, but I want to
Was
think
it
they
New
did away
Jersey?
with it. I could be
Okay.
wrong. If I said this and I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But I know that was one thing about New Jersey that I was like, I actually kind of like that. But anyways, okay. So, so there we go with a bunny trivia. But so what else did you find scary with like pumping gas or something? What
everything.
else?
I mean, everything. Like just the interaction with people.
Yeah.
It was so different, and I often was very self-conscious, right, of just crossing my boundaries. Like I remember one time I was at Walmart and I was like standing in the line just waiting to pay, and in front of me there was this mom and she had the baby in the car, and I was like, oh, that's so cute, and like I got a little tiny baby, and I dared to just reach out and touch the baby's feet. In Mexico, we have this thinking that if you like a baby and you don't touch it, it's bad luck.
Oh,
it's
really?
a stupid thing.
Wow.
Yeah. But in Mexico, they say that that's actually, like a cursing. If you like a baby and you don't touch it, well, you're wishing him bad or
Wow.
something like that. Yeah. And of course, I didn't even think about that, but it was just so natural for me just to reach out and touch the baby's, touch the baby, the baby's food. And mom, oh my goodness, she like looked at me with these eyes. She was gonna eat me with her eyes, and she's like, "Could you please not touch my baby?"
Whoa.
And
Oh my gosh.
that was a very scary moment. I mean, I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course. I'm sorry.
Oh, poor Rocio.
But yeah, I mean, things like that. I mean, that now I think about them and they're just like, oh my goodness. But going to the doctor, I mean,
Yeah.
like everyday things, were pretty scary. And I have to say, I mean, Ross always protected me and helped me a lot. But there was a time when, well, he would like, okay, well, you go on your own. and man, that was very scary. So yeah, I feel like moving to a different country, it can be one of those experiences that, I mean, you grow a lot. I mean, personally growth.
Yeah.
That's gotta be.
Wow.
Definitely.
That's what, like cultural differences in general can get so bizarre, and nobody's wrong. You were literally just raised this way. Nobody's wrong, I mean, like, we have weird things too that wouldn't translate over to Mexico, like getting mad at someone for touching your baby's foot.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to get mad about today.
Or just going to, anywhere we went to, I wanted to kiss everybody because that's the way we greet everybody. And so I would go like, mwah, mwah, mwah. And they were like, hi,
Oh my gosh.
So it's just getting used to things, and but it can be frightening, honestly.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to make a generalized statement, but I think like in the Midwest, like we assume we're like super friendly. But at the same time, whenever you talk about that, like the affection, right, that you show on an everyday basis in Mexico, like we're not.
No,
we're not.
Well, the affection and the space. There's one big thing, for Americans. Like you go to the store and you know that you have your space, and the next person has, her space or his space, and you don't touch that space. That space. And if you dare to do that, you say, "Excuse me," "Oh, I'm sorry." Well, in Mexico, it's just like it's so different. So, I mean, and I noticed that later on, like when my parents will come here and we will go to Walmart or whatever, I will tell my mom, Mom, you need to be aware of people, and don't cross your hand like that and grab something. You need to say, I'm sorry, or excuse me, or just wait until she moves, right? But there's something that you learn over time. But yeah, it's like it's different, very different.
Mom, if you do that to somebody, just give them a bouquet of ranch dressing.
Solves every problem in the Midwest.
Exactly.
In the Midwest, you don't just say goodbye. You stand, you linger, you sit in the car, you talk to them through the car.
Yeah.
So that's
you walk
interesting,
back out of the
though.
car, you walk back in the house, you say goodbye again.
Goodbye. Exactly.
Because maybe we have like boundaries with space, but we may not have boundary with time. I don't know. Like, how do you notice that? Like, now I'm like really curious. Like, I just want to know everything. It's not your job to educate me on everything, but I'm just like, do we linger longer? Do we talk longer, or are we actually shorter than we think we are?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely shorter. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like, just to give you an example, when we go to Cobden and we go to church, or we used to go to church at Cobden, Ross will take snacks with him, so he can get out like during service and just eat a snack and then come back.
I love that strategy too. You gotta keep your blood sugar up. That's all I can say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, service, at church can go like 2 hours, and if pastor decides that the Holy Spirit is moving, he'll stay there forever. And it's Rosie's was like, but yeah, definitely. And he knows that when we are with friends or when we're in Mexico, I mean, he goes to bed. He's like, okay, I'm going to bed. I can't
Russ
stay
is probably
longer.
very routine and structured too. Jeremy Packer comments that lingering in the Midwest, the Chronicles. This is interesting to me though, because what I think of lingering might actually be a shorter. And then you think about like if I lived on the East Coast versus the West Coast, like how everyone's just so different. And I love it actually. I think that's fascinating how everyone just has, every region has its own way of being,
Totally.
But so we talked a lot about fear, like your experience of fear here, just unlike the everyday. And then you've been a pastor for 10 years. Now, when did you start becoming a pastor versus how long you've been here in Marion?
So I've always been part of the Methodist Church in Mexico. Okay. So I grew up in the Methodist Church. So when I moved to the United States, I just did, the transfer from that church to the United Methodist Church. And I started working as a part-time pastor in 2010.
Okay.
But I was pastoring bilingual churches.
Okay.
So it is actually now what I get to preach in Spanish, but back then I was preaching in English. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was, I mean, God bless them. I mean, they were the ones who got to hear my super, I mean, if it's bad now, my English and my accent is bad. I
That
mean,
is
you
great.
should have heard me like when I just moved here. It was awful. So, I mean, they were amazing. But I pastored those churches for, over 10 years. Yeah, it was
Wow.
about 7 years. So
Wow.
that was good.
That's amazing.
So, and I
You
just want to,
did. You just
I
jumped
did
right
it.
in.
I kind of did it. I kind of did
Wow,
it.
because you moved here 2008 and you started preaching in 2010.
Yeah, yeah. David was still, yeah, very little,
Oh,
very very
wow.
little.
I
Yeah,
didn't realize that you did it that quickly.
yeah. I mean, the opportunity showed up, and I
That's
and I took it.
amazing.
And between you and I think Ross was the one to blame for. He was the, with that, would talk about me with, his friends at church, and I think that's when they spot me and they were like, oh, we should hire her.
That's
So
great. I love
yeah,
that
that
is
because,
so wonderful.
well, you think about it, like 2 years goes by so fast. That's like the same amount of time most people go to John A. You know what I mean? Like that's
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
very much time, especially to acclimate yourself to something else. That's like super cool.
No,
Go, Rocio.
no.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you. It was because it was, moving. It was different country.
Yeah.
I newlywed almost. I mean, and I was mom.
Yeah.
We became parents like right away, so it was a lot of new things.
Yeah. 2 years
But
felt like 2 weeks
yeah,
during all
yeah,
that.
exactly. But they were graceful enough, and so
Yeah. That's
So,
wonderful.
yes,
when,
very
so
nice.
you preached then for 7 years before you started the Churros and Chocolate
Right,
ministry.
right.
And so tell us about your experience of like really grasping the concept of doing it afraid and like how that kind of hit you and then what it's been like since.
Yeah. Well, since this opportunity opened up, and I would, have to leave the churches and jump into just this kind of like leap of faith.
Mm.
There was a lot of questions, right, and a lot of insecurities that came out of, when you're in front of a challenge like that,
Yeah.
just to start something from nothing, from scratch. I mean, and it was a huge challenge, and honestly, like a lot of insecurities just starting to, come to the surface, and I would just think about, am I really the person for this? Like,
Mm.
do I have enough in me to get this done? I mean, I always felt like there was somebody more prepared.
Mm.
I always felt like there was somebody with more experience, and I always fear, what if this doesn't work out?
Mm.
And so I had all these questions, and I have all these insecurities within me. But at the same time, I'm feeling, God just moving me to start this, and I'm seeing the need, and I'm seeing that people is interested, and God is speaking this to my heart. So I was like dwelling into, my own fears, and God, believing in me, and it took a while for me to finally give in into that, belief that I can do it. I really
I
can do
love
it.
that.
And I think it took, I talked to my brother one day, uh, and I called him on the phone. My brother also is a church planter in Monterey.
Oh, wow.
So he had been planting a new church for 3 years. So I said, hey, this is this opportunity, but honestly, I'm struggling with a lot of fear. And he said, well, you know what? I've been planting this church for like over 4 years, or I think it was 3 years back then. And he said, and honestly, I'm still afraid.
Mm.
So I don't know if fear ever is going to go away, but you have to do it afraid.
Wow.
You
Love
have to do it
that.
anyway.
Mm.
And those words kind of like stuck in my head, and I thought, you know what, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm afraid, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And so I remember, writing about this, how I decided just to do it afraid. And I, as I was writing, I started to look, about fear and really digging into, the concept of fear. And what I found out is that the do it afraid concept is not something new. There's been a lot of people writing about it, and there's websites and books, and I mean all sorts of stuff. It's a concept that is rather it's a lot wider than what I thought. And just pretty much talks about, I mean, there's different approaches, but I think what interested me the most was trying to understand what fear was and how to really move on despite the fear. And for me was just to dig in and understand where my fears were coming from, and how to understand that what I was feeling was not necessarily wrong, or was, and give myself permission to be afraid. That was something big, as a Christian. There's always this thought that being afraid is something, it's not good, right? It's not something that you should be. And we're always trying to push, those kinds of feelings away. So for me, it was like, I can't believe I'm afraid. Like I've been pastoring for so long, I've been Christian for so long, and I'm still afraid. And I felt like I was wrong. And then I had to understand, I had to come to peace with that fear that I was living, and understand that being afraid it's a feeling. I mean, being afraid is just a feel. Fear is the feeling, right? And like any other feeling is deceitful. And just because I feel afraid doesn't mean that, it's a reality. I mean, I can be afraid of, that this person is not gonna like me, or that this just will not work. But that is not necessarily the truth. And that's when I think we need to stop believing everything that our feelings tell us. Because your feelings are gonna, tell you, just don't do it.
Wow, that's so true. Oh my gosh.
And then you do nothing, and then what? And then the community isn't built. That's the problem. That's the direct result of letting fear, anxiety, whatever it is, get to you, because you're so capable of doing such big, amazing things. And if that's what God and inspiration is calling you to do, you gotta do it, or it's not gonna get done.
Exactly.
Carol left a comment and said, "Churros and chocolate rocks. Gracias, amiga Rocio."
Oh,
that is
Thank
amazing.
you for watching, Carol. I know we'll have to talk about us going
it's
later
so
on.
Much fun.
So, it really is. So Rocio, you're scared. You're like have these, fears that this is not going to work, and then you're like, I'm going to do it afraid. So like, what did that look like for you? Like, what is doing it afraid? How was that for you? And what was it? Just what did you do to help?
Well, I think that for me it was first, like I said, right, the realization of just giving it was okay to be afraid. So trying not to escape from that feeling anymore. So rather try to find or use it as a fuel to move you forward, right? Because what I understood is that, okay, feeling afraid, if I feel afraid, that helps me understand what courage is. So if I'm not afraid, if I was not afraid, I would never understand what courage means. Totally.
I love that.
I wouldn't understand if I don't feel fearful at times. I cannot let God be God in my life. and see
Yeah.
God in action. So there needs to be, a balance. It's not that I'm going to push away the feeling or I'm just going to deny that it's in me. Rather, I'm going to understand it and try to use it. And the way I did it was, giving a little step at a time. So for me, was understanding that courage meant just taking that tiny step and then the next tiny step after that.
I love that so much.
And it was just one little thing at a time. And I mean, that didn't mean that the fear went away. The fear was still there, and the fear was real, and was very real, and it still is in many times. But now I try to understand, okay, this is the way I'm feeling, but I could either, like you were saying, Casey, I could just be stuck in my fear, and just let opportunities pass, let this opportunity pass, and just somebody will come and do it, right? Because I mean, somebody will take it. So God has provided this opportunity for me. So either I take it and do it afraid, or just skip. And the problem with the skipping, though, is that I have done it many times because of fear. And honestly, I feel like it just produced like anger within me. Like I look, now, and I could see that, I was growing angry, not just with me because I didn't take that chance for whatever reason or for whatever situation I was afraid of, but I was also growing angry with the people that did take them.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We have a comment here from Allison Hassler. She commented a couple of minutes ago, said, "Oh, so well said," especially about the part about, your fear is a feeling and it doesn't define you, and all of those things. So Allison, thank you for watching with us tonight. But that is so true, because I do know that feeling where it is like supposed to be your opportunity, but you didn't seize the opportunity, and now it's someone else's opportunity, right? And it's not a good feeling to have at all.
No, and all it does, it just like you're saying with that anger, it just like makes you so bitter, and it takes so much strength to think inward instead of outward. Because what I would always get is like in this rut of like being hypercritical at the person who did it, and being like, well, if I did it, I would have done it blue, and if I did it, it would have been this kind of a joke, and blah 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 blah, or whatever. And
who do they think they are, right? I mean,
exactly.
Who
like,
do they think they are?
Why is she doing all that stuff?
And it's like, you just become so angry and then so stuck and steadfast in not being a productive, confident doer, that then what is it? They continue doing and you do nothing.
Yeah,
exactly.
What do you like? What a murky ditch to be stuck in.
Very murky.
Exactly. It is awful. And you know what's the worst part? That I felt like I was passing it on to my kids. I mean that same fear, I felt like I was, teaching my kids to just being afraid, not being confident of themselves. And that was when I decided to just show them with my life that it was okay to be afraid.
I love that.
As long as it does not paralyze you. I mean, as long as that you don't allow that feeling to boss you around, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay just to have doubts, because that's when God can be God in your life.
Yeah, I love that.
Wow, that's such a great point. I feel like there's times when you are a kid and you're afraid, and you probably, and people don't mean harm by it, but it's, just kind of not knowing how to handle those feelings in kids, especially, and then how we grow up as adults with those same feelings. But it's like when you are scared, it's like, oh, be brave, get over it. I do feel like there needs to be that, let's embrace that fear, let's sit in our fear, and let's be comfortable with it, because it is such an uncomfortable feeling that if you don't know how to become comfortable with it, well, then you're going to do anything to escape it.
Yeah, exactly. And fear, I think it's very sneaky, because I think it shows in very many different ways, and you don't even realize that it's fear. I mean, we name it different things. We name it anxiety. We name it, whatever, a fear to just being rejected, or but really the core of many of those things, it's fear itself.
Yeah.
So I think that the better we understand how we react to fear, the better we start. That's the moment when we start doing something about it. And you start giving these steps, and it's incredible, because with every teeny tiny step that you take, you start experiencing more courage. Like it's something that grows, and because you know how it felt, so you were like, okay, I think I can give another one.
Yeah.
And that's when you start seeing, God in action, like I was saying. And that's something incredible to see, because God honors that. God honors when you do something, that you're supposed to be doing. And when you do it afraid, God honors that. God honors your trust in him. But once you do it once, you learn to trust better. You're like, okay, God, I felt it. You got me. So it's a lot easier to take the next one, because you're learning to trust. And of course, you're not gonna you get to know God better with every step that you take, because that's how trust works. I mean, with this continual relationship with God, right? But that's something that you grow into, and of course you learn to trust more the more you know him, because I mean, you're not gonna trust your kids to anybody. You trust your kids to someone that you know. The same thing, you cannot trust God if you don't know him. But you do get to know him more and more and more at every step that you take, to a point where you understand that, the scripture where it says, love cast out fear. Perfect love cast out fear. And it's so real, because then you understand that God loves you so much that, a lot of those things that you fear, I mean, even if they happen, you are loved, and God has you, and he will protect you, and he will get you through, and he will be with you. So it's a constant, exercise that you do.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. And that is so powerful, like adding the verse with that. And like, these are those little things that connect to each other, that when we're in our daily lives of just like the motions, we're doing the motions, whether you're working during the day or you're doing, your task at home or stuff like that, like, and we get caught in that fear, we don't always link it back to scripture and ways to overcome it. So I think that was an absolutely wonderful, just a way to bring it all together with that. That was really, really wonderful. And Carol, she commented and she said, that talks to me, that God honors when we trust him enough to do it afraid. I struggle with fear and get paralyzed instead of doing things. And, I think that's just so common, and it happens to so many of us. I mean, personally, I can say that for sure. Like, I almost didn't start, Brainstorm Boutique, because I had this like this panic in my heart that nobody would need it or no one would really want it. And then whenever I decided to just show up and do it, because that's what I felt I was called to do, then suddenly I realized it was needed and people did want it, and it's just all those things where you have to listen to that calling inside of you. Russell, he asked a question, but I'm going to actually hold off on it just for a second, because Rocio, I want to talk about how you took that fear, you started Churros and Chocolate, and like how you see it growing and how you see it blossoming with the fear and everything.
Oh my goodness. I'm over my head. I mean, it's just amazing. Every gathering, my fear was nobody's gonna show up. I mean, it's gonna be Ross, David, I, and probably my neighbor, because he said he was interested, and that's it. So it was like that was my fear all the time, and that along with many others, right? Like, I mean, you name it. I had all the fears and doubts, but every time that I showed up, God showed up. So there was a point where I didn't even, I mean, right now I can tell you for sure, I don't worry about that stuff anymore. Like, God has shown me that he's got it.
Yeah.
He's got it. I mean, he's going to bring the people, he's going to bring the money. All I have to do is show up in the day by day decisions and just asking for his wisdom. And he's been doing it. I mean, and Ross can tell you, and all the people that now are part of our leaders. I mean, God has surprises. He brings new people all the time. We receive donations from people that heard about the ministry and wanted to do something, and they just hand us, a check. Hey, please use this for your ministry. Contacting us, people from everywhere. Like, hey, I heard about you guys, and I'm interested about this. And what are you guys up for? And it's just amazing. God providing the resources, everything we have needed over and over and over again. I mean, we are just amazed on how God works. When you learn to trust Him. Yeah, it is amazing.
And really just like a testament to what you can build when you do something with a pure heart. And I think that like, even with like the fear thing, like aside, just the fact that you're such a pure, good-hearted person, Rocio, like you just exude like wholesome, pure good personness that I think that like it's so lost and hard to find. Like I don't just like walk outside and find that. It's just been like, well, it's just true. I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard just to like find someone that you can just look at and be like, I think I trust you. And I've only said like a word, you know what I mean? Like I think I trust you. And I think that like you genuinely have that like minister's heart to you that I was like so like skeptical about for so long. Just like, what are these people doing?
Yeah, suspicious of it.
You know what I mean? Like it was, I just like, you're great. You're so like, if anybody is like on the fence about donating or anything, you just like give them my number, because I'm gonna be like, listen up. You're like, you just have a good pure heart, and you know it when you meet you. You know it as soon right off the bat. You're like, this is just a good person.
Oh, well, thank you, Casey. I really appreciate that. I feel like one of my main goals in life is present myself genuine, and that's what I do. I mean, what you, like I was telling you the other day, I mean, what you see is what you get, and I like to be that, and God has put. And I feel like when you see those things in me, it's because what Jesus has done for me. Like I feel like He has cared for me that much, that He has given me that compassion for people. So if you see any good in me, it's just merely just Him that I was not, I didn't feel this way before Jesus. I gotta say, my mom says you one before Jesus and after Jesus, Rocio before Jesus, Rocio after Jesus. It is true. I mean, God had put this in my heart, this genuine concern for people, that I didn't have before, and it is true. I mean, all I want to see is just people growing in their faith, and for me, seeing transformation, in the life of somebody for good, it's Christmas. It's like the best part.
You got me crying. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it. Oh my gosh. You're just wonderful. Like, you're wonderful. You're a good person.
Oh, thank you, Casey.
Well, okay, so now I'm going to have to bring up Russell's question, because people need to know the connection here. Russell asks, so how has Casey's coaching helped your confidence? And then I want to talk about us going to experience churros and chocolate. So
yes, okay. Oh my gosh. I mean, so Brittany, you and I did a brainstorm for churros, right? And you gave us these fantastic ideas. I mean, I just need to say, guys, I'm like big fan of you too. Like, I mean,
you're so sweet.
You gave me all these super ideas, but I remember like one of those things that we talked about, during your brainstorm was, I said, I feel like I need more confidence to present myself. Speaking about fear and insecurities, I said, I just feel like I'm not totally myself, when I'm preaching. And you immediately said, I'm going to contact you with Casey. you need to talk to my sister. And then it's like, okay, sure. And that's when Casey contacted me and she said, I do this, and I can, and she gave me a plan of things that we can work through. And so I joined the class, and this is an improv class that I've been taking for, it's been 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's been transforming. I mean, it's been amazing.
I love that.
Every single week that we have met, I have learned something new. But I feel like my confidence has grown from here to just, I mean,
that's wonderful.
I mean, I'm feeling amazing. I've learned so many things through Casey. I honestly feel like anyone that speaks, that does public speaking or just relates with people needs to take this class. Honestly, it's amazing.
I love it. It's honestly like, I just look forward to it so much. Like, it's so much, I don't know, it's just so much fun. I just take, like, I've taken things that I learned from Second City, things that I've read about, things that I used for myself personally to get myself on stage in Chicago. And it's just like really, really affirming and just nice to teach these things to you and know that they work and that they're translating well. Because I mean, like, you're such a, it's like another thing is like, whenever I listened to your messages, I was like, this girl is such a good writer. Like, you're an excellent writer. And that's usually where people, they have a hard time performing their words because, you know what I mean? Like, the writing isn't to the level that they want it to be, And so then, you have to then have, like, lessons on writing, which is another thing that I can do. I love writing. I did sketch writing for a long time. So it's like, but your words are already at the level that you're already connecting with people. They're already coming together. There's a beginning, middle, and an end. So it's just really just like you shining bright light. Get out of it, girl. No.
With Casey, she always, like, I don't get to hear the details, but I get like an overview where it's like, oh my gosh, she is so funny, she's so great, she's so good at all these like great things. And like we like once a week, Rocio, we like talk about how amazing Rocio is.
Well, I honestly leave that class just like, with my confidence, because Casey's always like, Rocio, you're this, Rocio, you're that. And it's just like, so, I'm seriously, it's like, I told Casey, every time I leave that class, I leave happier. Like,
Oh,
my
Wow.
kids
yeah.
notice that I've been in class with Casey.
I need to sign up for Casey's class.
You
Yeah.
did. Brittany did do one.
I did one.
She sat in on me doing one for someone
Friend.
else, for a mutual friend, and it was funny because I did an adaptation of what we did week 1, Rocio, and I won't say what it is, but
Okay.
I did an adaptation of what we did of week 1 with like a lot of those like really, really intense parts in there. And like, it's a super emotional week. It's very, very emotional. Week 1's as emotional as you can get. Week 1 in any acting class is probably one of the most emotional experiences of your life. And Brittany gets back in the car and she's like wiping away tears. She's like,
Oh,
well, you didn't tell me it was gonna be like that.
but isn't that important? Because
Yeah.
that's exactly, you have to dig in,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
your insecurities and really
Mm.
touch that to understand why you're
Yeah.
not feeling confident. So
Yeah.
there were a lot of things, that I didn't even remember,
Yeah.
until I was confronted with, okay, what's in there.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I was able to speak about it, and it felt like so much freedom.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was building, the stage for what we needed to do after that.
Mm.
Absolutely. And really the space, guidance and no judgment
Hmm.
Mm.
is like what I
Yeah.
really try to offer, is like, there's zero, you can say whatever you want to me, you're never gonna surprise me.
I love that.
It's just, I'm never gonna be surprised. I ran dogs downtown Chicago. I have seen, heard, and been in houses with it all.
Oh
It just won't happen.
my God. I
And so
know.
it's like, there's a point where it's like, you get I just want to like exude that, like, there's literally no judgment. You can say whatever you want. This is the
Mm.
space and the time
Hmm.
that is allotted for it.
Hmm.
You don't have to do it,
Hmm.
but we're gonna sit here for 20 minutes anyway. Like,
Yeah,
this is the
it's
space and the
gonna
time to
happen.
do it.
Yeah,
And I
but
just think that that's
but it's easy
paramount.
because, I mean, you make it easy.
No,
That's what I mean. I mean, going to an improv class where, you're told that you can be yourself, but it's different than really, when you give me that space where I
yeah,
can really feel like not just told, but feel like I can be myself. and
no.
and I know that if we get goofy, you're gonna get goofy with me.
Oh, she'll
And
get goofy.
yeah, and if I cry, you're gonna cry with me. So
Yeah.
it's that confidence that, oh yeah, I mean, I can be whoever I want to be
I
here, and
love
I
that.
can be me, and it's okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're hilarious. It's not even like, I didn't expect you to make jokes, like, ever. I didn't expect there to be jokes made, just because, like, when you take like improv and stuff like that, it's more about just like the technicality of literally just knowing that you can say anything at any time, and maybe you're a character sometimes. But you've said the funniest stuff. There's like, every week I'm like, how did she even think of that? So good.
I'm telling you, I think it's the environment that you give me, just to,
Good.
I feel so much freedom. uh
Good.
and I tell Ross, Casey thinks I'm funny, and see, I'm funnier than you, Ross. I always told him, you have to believe, in my country, I used to be very funny. Like in Spanish, I'm funny,
Yeah.
right? In English, it's just so much harder because I need to think about the joke, and
Yeah.
sometimes my jokes would not make sense.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
There's
go
one
ahead.
thing that I would love to share from week 1 that you did, if you don't mind, about the glass ball that you had.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So it's a game, and I won't go into it because it's not important. But what happened was that I handed her something, and Rocio decided that it was a beautiful glass ball. And
so it was imagination, right?
Yeah, it's all imagination.
Okay.
Improv literally means that there's no script, there's no props. We're using the air and our imagination, and purely just talking, just straight up on ideas. It's really, really cool. It's very hard to do. It's so hard to do, and when people are like, "Oh, I think I can do that," it's like, oh, okay, go do it. It's really hard to do. Well, Rocio, I handed her something, and she has no idea what it is. I don't know what it is, and she decided that it was a glass ball, just like a beautiful glass decorative ball. And what she did was first put it by her window, and she asked me if I had one, and I said, yeah, I do. I said, I don't put it by my window though, because I'm afraid that the sun will come through and then it'll catch my rug on fire. Well, then Rocio quickly takes the ball and she moves it to the entertainment center, and I thought that was hilarious. And in my head, the scene was over. And so I look at Rocio and I'm like, wow, that was really good. I love the decision that you made to move it from the window to the entertainment center is just really good. That's really, really good thing to think of next. And then she just sits there dreamily looking at her entertainment center. She just goes, really like the way that looks.
Could you picture this? Could you really see it?
I was seeing that ball. I mean, it looks wonderful at my house.
Oh my gosh, I forgot.
We gotta find Rocio decorative glass ball. So we have a comment from Carol, and she asked, which class is this? Now I want to take it.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally have to take it.
I'm just taking things that I learned in performance. I'm a comedian, and was taught in Second City in Chicago. Did all of that, and anyway,
professionally trained. Let me interrupt you and say that you made it to the smallest percentage of people who made it to the very top tier of conservatory, which is the tiniest. She had to go through 3-4 auditions each time to get. People were weeded out through this program. So Casey made it to the end.
It was like Survivor, and my tiki torch stayed lit.
She confident.
There was allies, there was drama, but we did it. And so basically what I've done is I've taken the things that I've learned from Second City and just things that I've learned in general that has gotten me up on the stage, because I am one of those people that did struggle with doing it afraid for a long time. Even just signing up for the class was a huge okay, all right, we're doing it. And so I've taken all of that knowledge, and I've offered a course or a class. I'm still kind of figuring it out. It's kind of like being figured out right now. The way that I'm exactly going to package this. But me and Rocio have been working together for 6 weeks so far and working on 2 months. And basically you learn different improv elements and ways to build confidence, have trust in yourself that you can say something and it will be fine.
Yeah.
And I think that covered it.
It's no. It's way much more than that.
Okay.
But I would say this. Every class, I feel like I learn new tools. I feel like I'm packing, this huge bag with tools. And I learned something different and something new every class. And I feel like this is just like you're building into, my, I don't want to, well, somehow it's a performance, right? Every time you speak in front of people.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, but I feel like it's just building upon that. And I have learned so many things. I think there are so many important principles that I have learned in that class, but one that I really has impacted me is it's the fact of just giving myself permission to to be me, and to have my own space,
Yes.
and respect
Wow.
that.
Yes.
That's amazing. And one of other things that I still carry it in my pocket. We did in one of the classes. We did the what is that called, Casey?
Confidence pocket.
The confidence pocket. So knowing, that, yeah, that you have in your pocket, you have, this confidence that is built through, all these people that really believe in you and what they say that you are, and and the principles that, in my case, God says, who I am, and putting that in my pocket, and take it with me, every time I preach, or every time I talk to somebody, or every time I'm faced with, fear or uncertainty. Having that in my pocket, is just, it's just, I mean, I have that confidence within me, and
Yeah.
it has been changing.
Yeah.
I
think that
love that.
it's so easy. It's so easy to take for granted that we know we're alive through observation. You know what I mean? Like, we know for sure our bodies are on the ground through other people observing us, and taking the time out to observe how we are, and taking the time out to observe, like, like if somebody says, like, oh, Casey, that you were funny, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Because, like, you listened to me, and you know what I mean? Like, you took out the time to observe me, and then supported me. And it's like, that should be so impactful. That should be a bright light that drowns out the lack of people talking, or the lack of people observing, or the lack of people being supportive. Is just like, I don't know, just like thank you for saying something nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that, like, making that a big moment.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
build what gets you out on stage, or what gets you to put yourself out there next, is like,
Absolutely.
nobody teaches you that. And
No.
it's so important. It's so important that
So,
positive feedback is way more helpful than negative feedback.
yeah. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a good reminder that as people who we see our friends doing things good, we see people we don't know doing things good. Like, we need to take the time and acknowledge them and what they're doing. It makes their lives so much happier. The other day, I will admit, I'm not one who really just says something to people I don't know. And I was driving, I was getting ready to go around the square of Marion, and there was a lady planting flowers, and it looked so beautiful. And like the little thing in between the, I don't even know, big flower planters in between where you yield and you don't yield. But she was working so hard and looked so beautiful. And I was stopped by there, right? And I was like, oh, it's my turn to go. And I took a second, I rolled down my window, and I yelled at her. I was like, it looks so beautiful. And she goes, thank you so much. I just love my job. And I said, well, you're clearly in the right profession because you're doing an amazing job. And I thought, why am I not doing this every day? Like, this, like, it should be a task that we're saying these things all the time, which I will say, like, Casey, when we're out someplace, like someone's, if we're checking out and someone's giving change back, Casey will notice if someone's nails look good, and she will tell them, or like, pay attention to these things. And
she's an encourager, that's for sure.
It is, yes. And like, sometimes I do get like more in the hurry of the day, But when you're too caught up in what you're doing, you're missing out on opportunity to bless somebody else's day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does help. And I think that when we like let that moment of like somebody saying that our nails looks nice or something like that kind of drown out the other bad moments of the day,
Yes.
it's like, you know, it just works, and it's just a better way to live.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
and I know like there's like a lot of like people being upset about there being like toxic positivity, especially because of like the pandemic and all this stuff happening. But at the end of the day, it feels good to feel good. And we can't do it without each other, you know? So it's like putting in the energy, getting that energy back, and like just living on that for a little bit.
Yes.
That's so true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially going back to doing it afraid too. A lot of people don't understand that like comedians that you see who go out there and they go really, really hard and they do it like 5 nights a week. They aren't doing it sober, and they're not healthy, and it doesn't last long.
Wow.
It traditionally does not last long. Like their lives don't last long. So it's like making sure that you're doing it with like a pure heart, a toolkit of ways to manage how you're feeling, a way to inflect on what's going on and pick all that out, and understand that you could do it by you know what I mean? Like you can go out there by yourself, you can deliver your message, and you can come home and things will be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important. It's so important, because those people, they either don't do it or they turn to liquid encouragement to help them do it, and that's not good. That's not good for you.
Wow. And I mean, sometimes you don't even know how much you're going to impact people with, you know, just a little encouragement. Like today, speaking about that, today I was exactly in that moment. A friend of mine told me, I went and got my license, my driver's license, just because you said that I could, that I should have. And I was like, I don't even remember saying that, you know. But I don't know. But one day she said, I think I need to do this. And I was like, yeah, you should. Yeah, what? I'll go with you. You know, whatever you need to do. But I think you definitely should. You should do it. You can do it. And she said, it's because you told me that I went and got my driver's license. And it's like, wow. I mean, I'm glad I didn't miss the opportunity. You know, like you're saying, see, I took the opportunity and just did it. And I'm glad that it affected somebody else for the good.
Yeah.
That is so good. Carol, she commented and said, awesome, keep it up, referring to all the cool things you're doing in your class and everybody.
Love it.
And yeah, I really appreciate her watching and
she's amazing.
Rocio, I've kept you on quite a while, but one thing I do want to talk about though before we let you go back to Russ and your kiddos. Casey and I went to your Churros and Chocolate event, and I'm gonna admit something, okay? Because like you had invited me, I think back in April, and I think April, May, I didn't go. And the reason why I didn't go is because I was nervous. I'm one of those that if I'm going someplace that I don't know, like I can experience fear and anxiety, and it can hold me back. And so then June came, and like, Casey had been working with you, and I'm like, I'm going to go. And luckily Casey was able to go too, which always helps me when I have someone else go with me someplace for the first time. So I felt bad because I'm like, I always was like, oh, I want to go. And I never like gave myself permission just to go and feel whatever I was feeling. So luckily Casey and I did go, and it was such an amazing time. So fantastic.
Good.
It was good.
The environment, everything.
Yeah. Everyone's so friendly.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you guys felt like that. I feel like that's exactly how we want people to feel. And that's why we're purposely not doing this as, just to make a look at such traditional church. We're trying to make this with a different approach. We start with food, which, it's different just to start there with. and you're invited to, for dinner, and it's all very casual. You come as you
Yes.
are. You don't have to, dress up. You just come as you are, and then you will be welcome. So I'm glad that you guys felt like that, because that's exactly how we want people to feel.
I
You know.
loved it. And like something that I thought was super cool, because I felt it too. And this is something that Brittany brought up when we were in the car. Your translator is excellent.
Oh yes,
And
we have excellent team.
she's great. And,
Mm-hmm.
I don't speak fluent Spanish. I can pick up enough, but not enough to like carry me through too far, And so when we got in the car, Brittany was like, talking about the things that you said. And then we kind of sat there and we were like, the way that the translator speaks, you pick up your emotion and it feels like you're the one who said it in English.
Yeah.
Like you don't notice it.
Yeah. She's pretty amazing. We're blessed to have her. And I am so blessed to share, that with other women. I mean, for me, it was very important that the women that I was ministering to, they could see, that we as women, we can be leaders too, and to show that, that we can take that space as well. So having Miriam, and another amazing woman like Carol, part of our team, for me was very important. So team up with, that it's really amazing. But what she does is pretty amazing. So basically, like you guys saw, everything is translated simultaneously. And even when we sing English, Spanish, we go back and forth. And so that's something that people also feel related with, because we have first generation and second generation. So while mom and dad might not speak fluent English, kids, that's the only thing they speak. They understand Spanish, but they only, speak English, like my kiddos, right? And we're trying to teach them Spanish, but their main language is English. So they get to hear both at the same time and interact with both. So that's something also that we're trying to be very intentional about, just having that for not only Spanish speakers but also for English speakers as well.
It's great. And then of course, like the message that you'd had that night was just absolutely incredible. Like,
thank you.
It's so good. And it's just such a different approach, Rocio. It's such its own thing. Like, you are your own thing. It's so good. Like, I feel like in the past, most of like the messages that I had always heard growing up in church was always like, you should be ashamed. And then I have no way to help you deal with that. You know what I mean? And it was like really damaging. Like, as you can imagine, that's not good. And it was always like, if you do this, that's bad. You're going here. I don't have any plans for you than that. Like, you want to do that? Don't. If it's too late for you, I don't know. Like that was always kind of the feeling I got. And I always just kind of felt like, because like I lived a life. I had 20s happen to me. I always kind of felt like it's just
like me.
We did it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it always just kind of like, there's like been a point where I was like, can I go back and be normal for a second? Like, is that in the cards for me? Like, do I get to do that?
Yep.
And it was just like too perfect. Your timing was too perfect.
That's
I'm gonna cry again. It's and that's what I love about you too, is like, you're like, go up there and you're a real person. You're like a real human being, and you have messages that don't like edge anyone out.
Yeah.
I love that you say that, Casey, because that's exactly how I felt for many, many years. You and I have a conversation about this. And I just always like saw the people that was up there as something that I wanted to be one day, but I knew like I would never be that person. They were so far away from me, like they were so perfect.
I think
So
we've lost Casey for a second, but let's keep. Oh, she'll join us. She'll join us back. So, but
Okay.
yeah, it's so right. You know. Oh, I think she's back. Might have a little. We can always add her to the stream again.
That was a
There
weird
she-
time to drop
Where
out.
did you go?
I don't know what all you heard. But what I felt like was like that you're just like a real person saying like real things, like a really good message that doesn't edge anyone out.
Yes.
And it makes you feel like no matter where you're at in life, that like you still have a chance.
I love that's you're putting in a nutshell like exactly my message. Like that's what I want to tell everybody, because I grew up with the opposite, like you were saying. And so for me, it was being a Christian is do this, don't do this, do this, don't do that. Be like this, don't dress like this, don't drink this, don't hang out with so and so, don't go to these places. So everything, Christianity was like a list of do's and don'ts. And I got so sick of it because I never measured up. Like I never fulfilled that, and that just drew me away from God, drew me away from faith, because I was never going to be that person. Until I totally, God reached me, and like I got me, and he made me understand that it had nothing to do with the list, had nothing to do with the list. And when I dropped that list and received his absolutely unconditional love for me, was so liberating. Was I was finally able to be me, and God will just receive me just the way it was, and he was expecting nothing from me. That was amazing. That was just like, and this is exactly what I want to share. That's the same freedom that I found. That's exactly what I want to share. I want to do it with a message that is relatable, that you can, you can get exactly that message. Nobody is.
You do it. You do it. You do it good. I mean, like, I was just
that was so good.
Because I had heard your message the week before during class because we went through it. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then
Thank you, Casey.
knowing that that's what it was going to be, and then going and hearing it again with like the translator and everything else, and feeling everybody
and
else
the passion behind it.
Feeling everybody else in the room, and then just like you just exude like so much authenticity and like just goodness. Like it's so hard to find. You don't, like I said, you just don't find that. It doesn't, like, where is it?
Well, I gotta say, I felt really, really confident, and I think Ross also noticed that, he told me, honey, you did really, really good, and I told him I felt so confident.
Good.
And I remember you and I going into that room before I preached and doing what we do, our exams. And it was amazing. I mean, it gave me so much confidence. So when I got there, I was feeling it. I was like, this is the moment that I've been born to do,
Oh
you
my God.
nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the next one. We're not able to go to this month, but I'm like definitely want to be at July's. So it's so good. Rocio, is there anything like you want to, tell people about, who might be watching, who might watch later if they're not watching now, like about how they can connect with you and your ministry and, get to experience, that message that you have to share.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We are on Facebook, Churros and Chocolate. We have also churroschocolate.com. That's our website, or just to find us on Facebook. And we meet every month. We usually try to meet the last Saturday of every month. And so we do it in different places. Like this month, we're having a picnic at the park. The next month, we're going to a pool. I mean, we're trying to do this just not churchy at all, right? So this will be like something fun where we will just, if you can, just bring a dish to share. We will, provide like the main dish, and just it'll be around food, and then we would, do a program that is about 45 to an hour program, and then we will eat again, and then of course we'll have churros, and
Yes.
and everybody is invited. Yeah, everybody is invited. We want to offer, this opportunity, or this space for Spanish speakers. That was the main idea, but of course, I think God is not, close to that, and He has showed us that many times. So this really is a space for anybody who wants to spend good time with friends, get to know Jesus better, and have fun.
Yes. Oh my
So
gosh.
you're welcome. You're welcome to come as you are.
So much fun. Casey, is there anything you want to add before we let Rocio get back to her family? I talk with you all night. I just want to add
you
that.
should just go. Like, you should just go and check it out. Like, I think that, there's this feeling of like, or this, like some people have, especially in places like Southern Illinois where it is like predominantly white. I think that like there's no exclusivity. Like, there's nothing like that. I felt like anybody could really go and enjoy and have a great time, and like, you should just go.
Yeah, and it's very family friendly
right
too.
now. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah,
just do it.
Do it afraid.
Put
your night on and just do it, honey.
We'll catch you. Yeah, exactly.
Melanie Bickett, our mother, full disclosure,
Mommy.
she left a bunch of hearts.
Yes.
That's my mom. Yeah.
I want to meet your mom and just give her a huge hug and just say, you've raised, such amazing women. I'm telling you.
So sweet. Our
I'm
mom's
a
amazing.
big fan of
Mom's
you.
Great.
Well,
we're all too far from the tree. She's awesome.
I imagine.
She is lovely. Rocio, we're huge fans of yours, and we're huge fans of Russell's and all that. And we're so glad we got to take you, that you gave us some of your time. Actually, we took you way too long, but joining us and sharing this very important message. And I hope, Mom just commented and said, come on over, we will have coffee. She will. But we just think what you and your whole family does is so important to the community, and we're thankful to share the same space and zip code and all those things with you. So we're happy you're here.
Love it.
Thank you, guys. I love you so much.
Love you too, Rocio.
Thank you for inviting me.
Have a good night.
Thank you for joining us.
Guys.
Thanks everyone for watching. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye.